2.5 weeks before my wedding, my fiance died super unexpectedly, and my entire life changed.
They refused to refund the bride and groom to be whenever the groom died from a heart attack. She had
on your wedding day.
6 months before a couple was scheduled to get married at this Central Florida wedding venue, tragedy struck. The groom unexpectedly died from a heart attack. Although
these are two very strange stories, but similar outcome. So two women were getting married or about to get married, and they both lost their fiance. So the first story is this young woman who basically her fiance passed away 2.5 weeks before their wedding, before getting married. And that story is so sad to hear because it's just so sad. Imagine finding your one, right? Because everybody have this fairy tale in their heads about, you know, finding the one and all that stuff. And this young lady believed that she found the one. And it just so happened that the one that she found, who she was planning her whole life with, passed away 2.5 weeks before their weddings. So that was already bizarre on its own because he was actually on a trip with his friends and he did this thing, you know, being a man and not following rules, and not to blame the victim because clearly the man is no longer with us, but it cost him his life. And now it's not just him that's hurting, his entire family, and also his fiance that's left behind. Now she have to start over again, you know. Well, we all have to start over again in our life regardless, you know, because things happen. But this is very sad. After listening to the story, I was so heartbroken for the young lady because you can tell that she's still hurting. So let's get into that story and then we'll get to the next one, which is even worse. Crazy.
2.5 weeks before my wedding, my fiance died super unexpectedly, and my entire life changed. I want to give you guys a little bit of backstory about my story, kind of where I am right now. So my fiance and I met in 2020. We met literally during COVID in May of 2020. And it was unexpected. I had just gotten out of another relationship, so I was not looking for anything serious, but he swept me off my feet. And they always say, when you know, you know, and this is so true. I cannot emphasize this enough. Wait for the person that you know 100% is the one, because it is a feeling, it's real. Everything moved super quickly. We immediately, right off the bat, knew that we were for each other. We moved in after 6 months. We got engaged in February of 2022. We were just so in love. We were truly a match made in heaven. Anyone that met us could just see how much we loved each other. We lived together. We had 4 dogs together. We had this beautiful freaking life. He was 1 in a million, and everyone who knew him will absolutely say this. His personality was absurd. He was a ridiculous human, but in the best way. He was larger than life. He was friends with everybody. He was just so excited for life all the time, and I can honestly say he lived every day like it was his last. We had both decided that we did not want to have a big wedding. We wanted to instead spend the money on an elopement trip and do this like once in a lifetime experience, go to Dubai and then go to the Maldives and do an elopement there. It was going to be, oh my gosh, like the coolest experience ever. And then we would come back and celebrate with family and friends. We were set to leave for our wedding on April 15th of 2023. Leading up to us leaving for the wedding, we both decided to have like small little bridal showers, bachelor kind of party things, very, very low key. I had my girlfriends, we like took a party bus around Atlanta. We went dancing. Like, it was so silly and so much fun. And so he decided to go on like a golf trip with his high school best friends. He left for the golf trip on March 30th of 2023. He went out that night. He got too drunk. He tried to get into a bar and they wouldn't let him in, but he knew that there was a back way in. So he went down this alleyway and there was a 10-foot wall that he had to jump off of to get to the kind of back alley of this bar. And my understanding from the police is that when he tried to jump off the wall, instead he actually fell and he hit his head, but his official cause of death was positional asphyxiation. I had no idea that he had died, obviously. I was at home with our 4 dogs, and the next day calling, texting, trying to get a hold of him. I wasn't really concerned. Scott was like, he went away on trips all the time. I was just never really concerned. By around 1 p.m., I was starting to get super concerned. And I reached out to one of his friends on the trip and I said, hey, is my idiot fiance alive? Like, I need to talk to him. And he immediately called me. I assumed that it was Scott. And he was like, hey, we can't find him. We're at the police station filing a missing persons report. I did not explain the amount of terror and anxiety and panic I felt in that moment. I thought it was a joke. I was like, fuck off, put him on the phone. Long story short, it took another 2.5 hours for the coroner to call me and notify me that the body that had been found behind the bar was in fact my fiance's. I still get chills thinking about it and talking about it because you cannot even fathom that moment. Like in 1 second, and from one phone call, from him doing something that was just so stupid, our lives were changed forever. I cannot even describe. I just collapsed onto the ground, cried, and could not get up. Oh my God, it was the worst feeling. And I was just, everything rushed to my head like, I'm going to cry. Like, I just tried to call him again. I kept trying to call him even though I knew that he was gone. I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do now? Like, my person's gone. I wouldn't wish that kind of pain, confusion, and grief on anyone. It's something that you cannot even imagine. It is so painful. We had built this whole life together and it was gone overnight. It was gone. Aside from losing Scott, I lost everything. I lost my person. I lost the future that I had planned. I lost the kids, the family that Scott and I were building together that we were going to have. I had to rehome 2 of our dogs because I couldn't afford to stay in the home on my own. My career suffered like crazy and it was awful. It's just hard to explain that kind of chaos. The whole purpose of me telling this story is to show you where I am now. About 6 months after Scott died, I made a decision that I didn't want to let this loss completely devastate my entire life and my entire future. It did devastate my life, absolutely, but I didn't want it to dictate how my future would be, you know? And I made a decision to like start over completely and build something that was my own because everything that I knew and loved was gone. It was gone.
When Scott died, I absolutely did not think that I would live a happy life. I didn't think that I would find love. I didn't think I would be normal or be free or be happy or find joy or peace or anything. I did not think that. I thought it was impossible. But 6 months after he passed away, I refused. I made the decision and I said, I am not going to let Scott dying be the end of my story. I'm not going to let something that I cannot change dictate how the rest of my life will be. I mean, I guess it has in some ways, but like, I will not be a victim of this tragic, awful thing that was an accident. I made the decision to start over and it was fucking brutal. Every single day I forced myself to get up. I forced myself to face these fears that I had and these struggles that I was having. I did this internal work and really redesigned my entire life and my entire identity, because to me, living is the end goal. Like, that's what we should all be striving for. We don't know how much time we have here. Tuesday will mark 3 years since Scott passed away, March 31st. My life is not perfect. I'm not living this like high life all the time, perfect, amazing. But what I can tell you is that I have found true happiness. I have found joy. I have found freedom. I have found stability in my life again. And it's because I designed it myself. And I coach other women to do the same. My loss was death. That was my loss. That is my story. That is my origin story. That is why I'm the person that I am now. But I see women who are starting over all the time. Maybe it's a divorce, maybe it's a breakup, maybe they just know that they want more in life and they have to start over and they don't know what the fuck to do. That is where I come in. I am on a mission to help women build lives that they actually love, to have that confidence and the magnetism and the self-worth and the standards so high that they will never settle for less. They will never let anything from their past dictate who they become. I hope that this story gives you some hope that there is life after loss, that no matter what you've been through, you can create something beautiful. I love my life. I love what I do for work. I love everything. I still have the grief. I still have the pain. It's absolutely there. It'll be there forever. But I have learned how to live with it by my side and build something beautiful and in some ways even better than what I had before. If you are in this place and you are starting over for whatever reason, this is your sign to keep going. Do not give up. Believe in yourself always. And if you need help because you don't know which direction to go or what to do next, book a complimentary discovery call. This is what I do.
Her suggestion was maybe you can do a memorial here on your wedding day.
6 months before a couple was scheduled to get married at this Central Florida wedding venue, tragedy struck. The groom unexpectedly died from a heart attack. Although the wedding and reception will never take place, the bride says she cannot get her money back from the ballroom where the celebration was to take place.
Her suggestion was maybe you can do a memorial here on your wedding day. And that, even now, sorry.
Check out this story on clickorlando.com to find out why the owner of this ballroom says the company must enforce its no refund policy.
Crazy parts about that wedding venue in Florida, the Crystal Ballroom at Lake Mary, how they refuse to refund the bride and groom to be whenever the groom died from a heart attack. She had proof, like she had the obituary. It's not like she was lying trying to get her over $7,000 refunded because the wedding was never going to happen because her fiance was no longer here. Their response was, I'm sorry, we have a strict no refund contract. Like, no sense of like soul or warmth. No, oh, that's so bad. Nope, sorry, you can't get your money back. But then the woman did make a suggestion.
Her suggestion was maybe you can do a memorial here on your wedding day. And that, even now, sorry.
A memorial service on her wedding day? You want this bride, all of her and her about-to-be husband's family to come on what would have been their wedding day or his memorial service? These people do not care. The fact that she was telling them 6 months before her wedding, like, he died in November, her wedding isn't until like later on 2026. She gave them a 6 months heads up. They had plenty of time to rebook and probably still did rebook that venue, made their money twice because this woman is experiencing the worst time in her life, but they couldn't give her any of her money back. Kidding me? You expect her to show up for a memorial service 6 months after her fiance died? Then you learned that this Crystal Ballroom, like there's multiple locations, back in like summer of 2025, another Crystal Ballroom that has like haciendas and weddings and receptions and like all this big event place was taking money from people who were gonna have their wedding and then shut the doors. Like one day, staff and employees showed up, doors were locked. There the day before, gone that day. One of the brides had spent $4,000 and had just made a payment. One of her payments, they were still accepting payments knowing they were about to shut the whole thing down, and they just left. Couldn't get a hold of these people. Then like the people who own, I guess it's like, I don't know, franchise of ballrooms apparently, they sent out saying, we're so sorry, we didn't realize that the owner of this location was going to be closing their doors. They didn't give us any heads up. Unfortunately, we can't refund you the money. You telling me multiple ballrooms now are taking thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars, honestly, from all of these brides and grooms and like refusing, no matter what, you will never get your money back from these people.
Now in this next story, this young lady, basically the venue where she was going to have her wedding, after her husband or her fiance passed away because of a heart attack, they refused to give her her money back, even with proof and everything. Now, as you guys already know, I used to live in Orlando, and I was very, very close to the Lake Mary crystal ball. As a matter of fact, one of my very good friends got married there. It's a very beautiful place. The venue, everything is very, very beautiful. But I have to say, it's a lot more expensive than like it's not worth the money that they're charging for the place. Yes, it's beautiful, and you know the view and everything is very beautiful, but it's not worth it, right? It's really not worth it, because my school was right across the street from it. I used to go to this brunch place, like literally right across the street, and you can walk to it and, you know, take tours. And also my friend got married there, so I know everything that went down, and, you know, all the requirements and everything, because I was there with her when she went to go pick it out and all that stuff, right? So them not giving her her refund after her husband passed away, and they're telling her that she could have his memorial there. What do you mean? What do you mean? And as a matter of fact, like, even if, for example, you know, there is this policy where you wouldn't do refunds, because the thing was, when my friend was getting married, it was right around COVID, and she had the wedding literally like when everybody was finally able to get out. And I think she ended up having the wedding there because they didn't want to give her the refund, even after the whole COVID and, you know, all that stuff. So she ended up doing it anyway because she had already picked it out and paid for everything before the C-19 happened. So, you know, she was lucky enough to just was able to still have the wedding. But my thing is, if, for example, you have proof that the person has passed on, clearly they don't need to have that spot anymore because the husband is no longer with us. I don't understand why they wouldn't be able to give the money, you know, because they have proof. You know, the obituary, like the papers and everything, you have proof to show that this man is no longer with us. I hope they lose a lot of customers because of this, because that's being very, very greedy. And I feel like a lot of wedding places were doing the same thing during C-19. They were taking advantage of the people who had already pre-booked their stuff. They were taking advantage. And in my opinion, this right here is a perfect example of them taking advantage, because imagine you going through all of this. You're not getting married anymore because you just lost your husband, and then you have to go and fight for them to just give you the money back. It's crazy. And I'm sure like they have some sort of deposit situation and or a, you know, if need to be canceled policy, you know, down, because a lot of times, well, not a lot of times, but sometimes people plan for weddings and weddings don't end up happening. So what do you do about that? I'm sure they have some sort of policy that's in place, especially if something like this happened where one of the parties passed away, because things happen all the time. You know, we're knocking on wood, that's not what would happen to someone, but in her case, she was very unfortunate that her husband passed away of a heart attack. So I really don't understand why it was such a hard thing for them to just give her money back. I mean, I don't get it, but I do hope that they lose lots and lots of business because of that, because that's not fair. That is not fair. And I believe it's because she's a black woman, that's why they did that. I know not everything has to do with race, but sometimes, you know what I mean? So anyways, y'all let me know what you think about these stories. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I'll talk to you later. Bye. Love you guys. So the other day I was out with my girlfriend, and she was like, girl, what is going on? It seems like everybody's attention is on you. And then somebody sent me a free drinks. So I had to pull her aside and say, girl, it's because of my Outrage oils that I've been using. So this is my little thing where I mix the oils and keep them in here, and then just put it on, you know, on my neck, my heart, and like my wrist. But these are the oils that I've been using, and as you can tell, I am a fan of Outrage. I've been using their products for such a long time, and I swear by their products. So this is the attraction oil, and what I do is I like to mix my oils. Hold on. Mix my oil in the little shell, and I'll put them in my thing here, and whenever I'm getting ready to go out, I'll put a little bit on, and I'll completely forget that I have some attraction oil in there until like people start sending me like free drinks, or sending my friends free drinks, like all of us at the table, and or people will come up and say, oh my gosh, you smell so amazing, what are you wearing? And I have to say, Outrage have been literally doing her thing. I have to be quite honest, because I don't just use the oils, but I also use their candles as well. Now, I know a lot of people might think that, oh, love and attraction candles are to like, you know, cast a love spell on someone. This video is sponsored by Art of Roots, and you can use the code Jenny10 for 10% off. So when it comes to love candles, you can actually do a love and attraction ritual for like jobs, and or you do it for yourself. So you cast a love and attraction spell on yourself to attract love towards you, so you become a magnet for love, basically, right? Instead of like doing a love spell on someone, which y'all know how I feel about doing love spells on people. But yeah, so it's all about your intentions when you're working with candles. And these candles are so beautiful, and when I tell you, oh, they smell divine. Literally, they smell so nice. And it's already charged, and all you have to do is basically set your intentions to the candle and tell it what to do. I remember I burned one for a brand deal and I got it.